Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about something different. Today we're going to be talking about being humble. The power of being humble is so important because I've learned throughout my life that if you are humble, you will get so much farther because you won't be worrying about trying to get through certain things. So let me kind of go more in depth on this because it's kind of a vague way to say be a vague way to say just be humble. So whenever you're trying to be humble, you need to find a reason to be humble. My why. Like, why are you being humble? Uh, you're being humble because you need to achieve certain things. And if you are getting too cocky and arrogant, being arrogant is one of the worst things. Do not be too arrogant because then you will slip past everyone else because they're being patient, you're being arrogant. You need to understand that you need to have this want and need to feel hungry to want more and more and more and level up in life. And if being not being humble enough and being arrogant is getting in the way of that, that's not a very good idea. So as I have been working through my life, I've had my ups and downs when it comes to being humble and being arrogant. um, I used to kind of like, for example, I've been trying to make this YouTube stuff for a long time, and because of me being so arrogant, I wasn't able to make these YouTube videos because I wanted them to be perfect, and I thought I was too good to make them. I thought it wouldn't matter, and honestly, I'm so passionate about this, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is that I was so arrogant to the point where I was like, I'll do it later, and then I don't ever do it. Um, but being humble is very, very important because if you're not humble, people are going to walk all over you, number one. Number two, if you aren't humble, then you won't find what you need. And what you need is to be grateful and be humble for everything you get. Um, like, for example, if you were kind of working through life and you got everything you wanted, you got your dream car, you got your dream house, but you weren't humble, you'd be done. If you were too arrogant, God and because we believe in God here, Jesus Christ on our channel, God would drop you right back down because He knew you weren't ready. God is testing you every single day, and you have to be ready for that test because God is trying to test you and see if you will continuously be humble or you will be arrogant and then step away from Him again. Being humble is so important because it shows a lot about you. It shows you worked your tail off for this, and you worked so hard for this, and you achieved it because you were patient. You were patient, you were humble, and you were trying your absolute best to achieve what you want to in life. And that kind of goes onto my next point. Being humble gives you so many positive things that you guys don't understand. Like, whenever I was not humble, when I was arrogant, I slipped past certain things. Things flew by my head because I didn't realize that there were certain things that were holding me back, which that was being arrogant because I wasn't focused on what mattered, and what mattered was me taking a step back, realizing the reality of the situation, and taking the steps needed to be able to achieve greatness. Recently, for example, actually a really good example, I used arrogance. I used being arrogant in the gym. I used to not be able to do 135. And the other day I did on bench press, excuse me, I used to not be able to do 135 on bench press, and now I can do 265, which that is a tremendous jump and a tremendous thing for me. And another thing I want to tell you guys, add to this whole thing, is that you do not want to compare yourself to others because you never know what they're going through compared to what you're going through. You never compare yourself to others. That's one of the worst things you can do because when you compare yourself, it's gonna kind of crush you. And because you're gonna see, oh, they're doing really good or they're doing really bad, you're gonna compare yourself, and then it's gonna be an unequal comparison because you thought this. For example, me, I benched 265. I was so proud of it because it was my personal gain. But if somebody else bench 315, I'm not going to let their max or wherever they are in their life tear me down because I I did lower than them. I did something better than what I used to do. Focus on what you're doing. If you don't focus on what you're doing in life, then you won't get far enough. You need to focus on what you're doing because there's always going to be somebody doing better than you, whether you like it or not. So you need to do your best, your absolute best to get better every single day. And that goes back to being humble. Once you become the best of the best, you will need to be humble because God will humble you if you aren't humble. Being humble is one of the best things you can possibly do. And as you work through life, you need to understand that if you aren't humble throughout the process, then you are going to slip away and fall right back down to where you were. Another good example. I used to not be able to squat anything. I couldn't even barely squat the bar. Now I can do 335, or maybe that's not a lot to you guys, but it's a lot to me. I'm so proud of it. And I never thought I could do it, but I did it. And that's amazing for me. I didn't compare myself to somebody else. And I stayed, and even after I did that, even no matter if it's low, like if I was able to do 500 pounds on squat, I would stay humble. I'd help somebody else out. Being humble makes you do many positive things. It makes you want to help other people out. It makes you not arrogant. It makes you calm and a respectable person in that field of where you're humble at. You need to stay humble because it's so important every single day for everything you go through. It's so, so important. So I beg you guys, stay humble. Keep working at what you are trying to do every single day, and stay proud of yourself, stay happy with yourself, stay positive with yourself, because you never know whenever you're going to get thrown down again. You need to be prepared, you need to be humble, you need to be ready for that. Don't let it knock you in the face and not realize that it's coming. So as I work through my life, as I've been saying, I've been humble, but not enough. I've been working through life. I have not been humble enough. I think I could be better. Everybody can be better in life. There's stuff everybody can improve. But I think that if I stay humble, then I will get farther and farther and become more successful in life. And I know it's so, so important. I need to keep trying to do that. So I'm gonna ask you guys something in the comments. So what does being humble look like to you guys? And what do you guys think? What's one example of why you need to be humble and put humble inside your life? Why it's so important to be humble? I want you guys to explain that to me throughout what you learned in this video. I want you to explain to me why being humble is so, so important, and why it's so important in your everyday life and throughout you getting successful. No person has been successful and stayed successful by not being humble except rappers. For example, Jeff Bezos, he still wears the stuff he wore whenever he didn't have any money. And like Lil Baby, no offense to him, he's an amazing guy, amazing rapper, but from what I've seen, he's not stayed humble. He's spent all his money, and from what I understand, he may look like he has money, but he doesn't seem like he does. So I'm just going to use that as an example. I'm nothing against him. But they both have something in common. They both are looking for success, which that's amazing. Continue to look for success, but also you need to stay humble. I'm going to leave you guys one more thing. Being humble is going to be the key to success for you. Being humble is going to be the key to success for you. You need to understand that as you work through life, and still being humble in your life, and you will be successful. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is Aiden. I'll see you guys later.